This transgender sports issue has been front and center for quite some time. I mean, I think about Leah Thomas, for example, and how Leah Thomas was able to just blow away records for the NCAA when it came to swimming. And I think about, frankly, how wrong that is on just so many levels. I mean, as a mother of daughters, I look at it and say, how is that fair? Especially athletic daughters who want to have a career in college athletics. I mean, can you imagine if you're the one who loses out to somebody who had, let's just face it, a different set of advantages? I mean, if you're born as a male, I'm sorry, like this is embarrassing to have to even try and explain, but let me just say, like, suffice it to say, you got a different set of hormones, which is going to power you in those early years. Yeah, even in those early years and then through puberty. So if you change later on, you know what? It's not the same, okay? It's just not the same as being a girl your entire life. Well, some colleges are starting to recognize this. Breaking today, we got news that a group that governs smaller colleges has announced a policy that effectively bans transgenders from competing in women's sports, with the idea being that this is just not fair. Let me go to the full statement for you. This is coming into us just momentarily, a few moments ago, this particular story from AP. But basically, let me help read the statement. Drew, have you got it as well? We'll just put it up there for everybody to see. The National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, the governing body for mostly small colleges, announced a policy Monday that essentially bans transgender athletes from women's sports. The NAIA's council presidents approved a policy in a 20-0, so pretty fantastic, right? Unanimous vote on Monday. And it basically it is a big deal because you get 83,000 athletes that fall under this category, the NAIA. And it's the first time, thank goodness, a college sports organization has actually done anything like this. I mean, finally, somebody's willing to speak up for the girls. You know, if I'm the Dems right now, I want them to take this off the table because I don't think it's helping me as a Democrat, right? For sure. Anyway, they keep going. I mean, I think actually that Biden had a serious big blunder with the whole Transgender Visibility Day being on Easter Sunday, right before the election. I think that was just his pure stupidity. I really don't think that this issue helps him. I think this is one that you get a lot of people on the left that gravitate more to the right on this. According to the transgender participation policy, the AP article continues, all athletes may participate in NAIA-sponsored male sports, but only athletes whose biological sex is female and have not begun hormone therapy will be allowed to participate in women's sports. Have you noticed? You don't see things going the other way. It's not like a girl is saying who transitions to become a man. It's not like she, then he is suddenly making a mad dash to join the boys, college track team. Right? Mad dash, no pun intended, right? Because he's not going to win in that scenario. So it's not fair. It's absolutely not fair in any way, shape, or form. And you know who gets this? You know who's been all over this from the beginning? And I know he doesn't get as much credit these days because, well, he decided to take on Donald Trump in the primary and got nowhere on it for reasons we can discuss another day. But he was spot on this. Ron DeSantis, ladies and gentlemen, a college athlete himself. Take a listen.
Excuse me, Dr. Latipo actually brought this up a little bit earlier. If I remember correctly, I think there was an appeal 2 years ago, but you're a father of two little girls. And what is your take on transgender females playing sports with other...
So reporters asking him basically what he thinks it is.
My take is evidenced by when I put my John Hancock on the legislation 3 years ago saying that in Florida, girls have a right to compete against other girls in competitions that have integrity and that are fair. And you can't have a biological male butt into these competitions and win the trophies. That's wrong. And so I think that that's important. I think what we did is right. And, sometimes people will act like, that not allowing a biological male is somehow an imposition on that athlete, and they don't care about the imposition you're imposing on all these female athletes. I mean, you think about the training and everything that goes into that, and we did, when you had I think it was the 500-yard freestyle, where you had the swimmer from Pennsylvania who had been a men's swimmer, I think, for 3 years, then flipped to the women's team, and then won, quote unquote, that. The second place finisher was actually a swimmer from Sarasota. I think she was at University of Virginia or one of the schools up there. And that's someone that's probably trained for years and years at this, because you don't just get to be competing at NCAA just rolling out of bed. I mean, this is something you're doing when you're young, and you're through middle school, high school most likely. And so you're doing that, and then you end up getting a second place finish, knowing that if they had just done it by the rules and had women competing against each other, you would have been the national champion. To me, that bothers me. I mean, I want people to know that the hard work will pay off, and that you have a right to do that, apply that in competition that is fair, that has integrity to it. That's really what it's all about. And the message that it sends is say, you know what, you do everything right, you work your tail off, you get in a position, and then all of a sudden you can have just the championship taken away from you. And why is it being taken away from these women and these girls who are competing in these competitions? It's doing it because the powers that be in these institutions, like the NCAA, some of the high school, not in Florida, but some of these high school, they just don't have the courage to put their foot down and say no. They don't have the courage to do what's right because they're worried about being politically incorrect. Yes, they will get attacked by different groups, of course, probably a lot of media organizations, but that is not what leadership is all about. Leadership's about doing what's right, and I think
normally I don't play that much of sound, but I just feel like it was that important to hear his response, especially on a day like today, where I think we can take heart that some people understand it's the right thing to do. So again, this governing body coming out for college sports at small college campuses and saying enough is enough. 20-0, they voted and said that they now have in place a policy that will prevent transgender athletes from competing in women's sports, because you know what? Somebody's going to actually stick up for the girls. I'm blown away by this. I mean, I was just looking at a governor recently, I want to say it's Wisconsin, but forgive me, I might have that actually wrong. Let me double check it. But it was just appalling to me because the governor was signing in a bill and saying, "Oh, yay, yay, yay! We're going to allow transgenders to compete in girls' sports, and we're never going to not allow this." And it was a man, and he was surrounded by women, and the optics of it were kind of insane. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's not a good look. Because women ought to be protecting women. They ought to be looking out for their daughters. Why are we more concerned about the 0.01% of the population? Because they might feel bad and then collect all the trophies. I'll tell you who's going to feel bad is the girl who's been working her tail off since she was 6 years old to actually win that award in the first place. Meanwhile, another new study, this just coming out literally this moment, I want to share it with you, out of the UK, who they're just looking at this and starting to say, wait a second, we need to reassess. They're that much further ahead than us. They kind of had the whole transgender thing creep into their society, I would say a little bit earlier, and they're now pulling back. So there's this long-awaited review of mental health issues and how you address those mental health issues in young children, including teenagers and people who are considering and contemplating possibly changing their gender. According to this report, and this is coming to us from the Telegraph right now, the concern is that many children who think they are transgender disproportionately, quote, have mental health issues such as a difficult family situation or they've suffered from abuse. They are also more likely to be neurodiverse. And so there's a danger, it says, in putting them on this path to change their gender. And so what is coming out of the UK is a long-awaited report This is from the NHS saying that effectively it's not a good idea and it's warning against. That's going to be the headline, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't rush to change your gender before you've exhausted every single other thing. I mean, hello, this is what I mean. Like the world has gotten so insane that somehow we think that if you don't fit in as a teenager, and believe me, you know what? A lot of people don't fit in as a teenager. They may never fit in society, whatever. You know what? Like that's just sometimes, we go through tough things. Everybody goes through tough things as a teenager. Some people, they have it harder than others, but is the immediate sort of go-to move to say, oh, well, we got to change your gender and everything will all be right? I don't think so. That is about not to mention these are things that cannot be reversed. Again, I am embarrassed to have to even explain this to people, but Apple, the pregnant man emoji, it just doesn't fly. I'm sorry. This is just getting to the point of no return. And now they're realizing it in the UK. Now small colleges are realizing it. Pretty soon the NCAA is going to realize it. Everybody's going to realize it. Okay. Because it's not fair. It's not right. And it's really dangerous, frankly, for the young kids involved. Really, really dangerous. I'm sorry. You take your political agenda somewhere else. Thank you very much. So go Ron DeSantis for being on the right side of that one.